starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Bass in your face. Bass in your face.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with the channel or watching this channel for the first time, the reason why it's called Uncommon Sense is because here on this platform, we discuss everyday issues where we try to find logical solutions, but not everyone uses logic. So, for that reason, it is called Uncommon Sense. I also have a smaller YouTube channel called Latina Diaspora where I discuss issues pertaining to Latinos in the United States. The link to that channel is in the description. I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And the subscriber mode has been enabled, meaning if you're not a subscriber and if you wish to enter a comment in the chat, you will need to subscribe to the channel. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to all those who've already subscribed to the channel. Whether you've been a supporter from the very beginning or just recently joined, I really appreciate your love and continued support. I also want to give a huge shout out to all those um, who follow me on social media, as well as those who allow me to enter into your devices and those who watch from the clouds, even the haters. So, what I'm going to ask you to do, if you have not done so already, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and set the bell notifications to all. So, therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on the playback. So, as you can see in the description and the thumbnail, the topic for tonight is what is the Red Pill movement. We have heard a great deal about it, so I'm going to do my best to define what that is and how is how is it pertaining to the opposite sex. But before we get into the main topic, we're going to have another episode of In My Words. Now, those of you who happen to live in New York know that we've been experiencing uh, a terrible heat wave where temperature reach 100 degrees. Okay, and I'm not talking about feel like actual temperatures. Okay, and it's very odd because here in New York, we don't usually get that high of a temperature, and of course, there's always been issues, particularly when it comes to the elderly. And I do hope that those of you who live in New York, if you're people who are elderly, that you to check on them and make sure everything's okay. Maybe do a couple of household errands for them. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is actually something I'm going to be discussing on my other channel tomorrow night, which I call buyer's remorse. Now, many of you have recalled last year there was a lot of Donald Trump. Okay, and not only as far as U.S. citizens, but even those who were undocumented, and they're talking about citizen, they gotta vote for Trump. They gotta vote for Trump. They're actually saying it in English and in Spanish. Well, lo and behold, a few months later, there is quite a few Latinos that are expressed that are upset with Trump due to the fact that he has attempted or deported thousands of so-called undocumented people, and this included even U.S. citizens. Um, I kind of find it humorous when I see my fellow Latinos voting for someone who actually said that he was going to deport or try to deport millions of undocumented people. Okay, which is of course this included people that actually um, arrived here legally and done everything possible to legalize their status. So the same group of Latinos that last year talking praises about Trump are now upset with him. So I'm going to be discussing this at length, and all I can say is the following: that in all fairness, had Kamala Harris won, um, it would not have been all that much different. Um, what might have been different has been as far as the approach, as far as dealing with the migrant crisis here in the United States. Now, I have said this before, and I will continue to state this. You have literally millions of people who have been in this country, entered this country illegally, been residing in this country for years, but yet have not done nothing in as far as legalizing their status. Now, I can understand in some cities they may not be all that extensive resources to help people legalize their status, but in cities like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Dallas, uh, many cities here in the United States, there are resources and attorneys which would do pro bono work to help these people who arrive in this country illegally legalize their status. But the fact that you have millions of people for reasons unknown or for whatever reason have not done anything to legalize their status, and then they're getting upset when the country decides to deport these people. Now, I get it. People are trying to flee their countries because because of the political situation or the economic situation or what have you. But with all due respect, we cannot care for the whole world. We have millions of people here that need our help. Okay, and I'm talking about people who were born here in the United States. I have a huge issue when we're willing to spend huge amount of resources for people um, to arrive here in this country, but yet don't extend the same resources to our U.S. citizens. It's like basically taking the food out of your children's mouth and feeding it to someone else's kid. Now, that would be considered abuse. That would be considered neglect. Here, it's just considered the norm. I don't understand it. I really don't think I'll ever gonna understand it, but so be it. I will be discussing this topic um, tomorrow night. And one more thing that I'm going to discuss. Now, I do understand that times have changed and things, we as a society need to adapt to new situations. But this is the thing: if women want men uh, to take on traditional roles as being the provider, the protectors, and things of that nature, women must do their part and play traditional feminine roles, which is basically nurturing, supporting, also being a helpmate, things of that nature. However, let me make this perfectly clear: if a man cannot govern himself, he has no business trying to govern a lady. Now, some people might get upset with me, but one thing we must bear in mind: if we want women to follow our lead, we need to provide a rationale behind it. Okay? Because realistically, no adult should follow the lead of an adult who's not responsible, who does not take accountability for their actions. Okay? And this could be applied to both male and female. So I'm not trying to uh, engage in the gender war, so to speak. I'm just trying to speak rationally, which is, if we ever going to cure the woes of society, we must learn to work together. We must learn to understand each other. And we must learn to play our traditional roles, okay, without taking advantage of other people just because of their gender. Okay. Now, when it comes to feminism, it did in the beginning address many inequities that did exist, because women at one time could not vote, women could not hold many positions, women could not have full sovereign over their bodies. And mind you, it was only about 50 plus years ago where a husband can, and I'm going to use the term, legally grape his wife, meaning compel his wife to engage in intercourse, even if she did not wish to. Okay. But times have changed. Okay. And I don't have a problem with feminism in its original form. What I have a problem with is what is morph into basically trying to dominate men. And this is the thing, ladies, if you're going to go ahead and talk about that you don't need a man and that you can make decisions on your own, I said fine. That means take it. That means being mindful of your decisions, being mindful that your decision has consequences, and to take accountability for the actions that you're taking. Okay, that's called being an adult. Okay, but nowadays we have individuals are not able to take accountability for their actions. Being an adult means understanding the actions that you take has consequences, and being accountable and not blaming others for the choices that you make. So I would advise all of us, let's sure that the choices that we make are choices that we can live with. With that being said, we're going to get into the main topic. Now, before I continue, let me state for the record that the link to join the panel has been pinned. Should anyone wishes to hit that link and opine regarding the topic that I'm talking about, they may do so. You may wish to agree or disagree. That's perfectly fine. This is not an echo chamber over here. However, if I never seen you before, if I never heard from you before, I will insist that you come up in the backstage. Then make sure that no one flashes anything inappropriate, which would cause the people of YouTube to take down the stream. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to define what is red pill means. So what I'm going to do is see if I can share my screen. So hopefully the image will load so I can share with the audience. Okay. So the actual term red pill originated in the 1999 film The Matrix, which was represented a choice between accepting harsh truths and remaining uncomfortable in ignorance. In the context of the film, taking the red pill allows the protagonist to see the true nature of his reality, which is unsettling but ultimately liberating. However, the term has been adopted by certain online communities, particularly within the manosphere. These groups use red pill to signify an awakening to a perceived truths about gender roles and relationships, often expressing the belief that men are disadvantaged in modern society. Okay, so that is what red pill means. Now, I'm going to share some key concepts um, associated with red pill ideology. Belief in female manipulation and exploitation. The red pill ideology often portrays women as manipulative and self-serving, particularly in relationships. Emphasis on traditional gender roles. Some proponents advocate for a return of traditional gender roles where men are dominant and women were expected to be submissive. Good evening, Gigi. Thank you very much for stopping by. So, the topic for tonight is the red pill movement. So, basically, I'm just describing what it is, okay? Because here, we're not going to just talk about something, we're going to describe what it is. Now, also, another concept is the categorization of men as alpha and beta. This ideology often classifies men based on dominance and success, with strong emphasis on achieving alpha status. Focus on sexual strategy. The red pill community often discusses sexual strategy and the concept like sexual market value. Anti-feminism criticism of gender equality. Red pill adherents often express resentment towards feminism and believe it has negatively impacted. Good evening, AMR. Thank you very much for stopping by. Okay. Now, it is important to note that the red pill ideology that is widely criticized for promoting misogyny and harmful stereotypes. It can negatively impact relationships and mental health. In some extreme forms, red pill ideology can overlap to extremist viewpoints and even link to violence. In summary, the red pill concept has evolved from its origin in the Matrix to a broader, complex term used in various online communities. While initially representing the enlightenment and truth, has become all opted by some groups to denote a specific ideology focused on perceived social disadvantages of men and a rejection of feminist ideas. And we're going to park it here. Okay. Oh, I love you, your new avatar, Gigi. And it's good to see you, Amar. Now, let me make a few things clear. As I stated previously, I don't have a problem with feminism in its original form, okay? Because it did address several inequities that existed for women for centuries, okay? Women could not vote. Women could not own property. There was many career choices which women could not participate in. You're welcome, Gigi. Okay. Women could not own businesses. Women were actually declared the property of their husbands. Okay. And at one point, as far back as about 50 years ago, again, let me make this perfectly clear. A husband can legally grape his wife. Okay, so I want that. So I want that to sink in. A husband can legally grape his wife. Okay, what I mean is a husband can compel, was able to compel his wife to engage in intercourse against her will. Also, women did not have autonomy when it comes to their bodies. Now, so with feminism in its original form, it addressed a lot of the issues that women dealt with. Where it went south when it got to the point when there was some feminists that basically taught that they need to dominate men, and the whole concept where women don't need men, women could be boss chicks and things like that. I don't look. I don't have a problem. If you wish to be independent and on your own, go ahead. That means, however, you have to take accountability for all the decisions that you make. You know what, Gigi? I think he might have been talking about your thumbnail. Okay, but going back. Okay, I don't have a like I said before. I would not classify myself as red pill. I would not classify myself as manosphere. Okay. I do believe that both males and females should play their traditional roles. Good evening, embrace your curls. Thank you very much for stopping by. So, the topic for tonight is what is the red pill movement? So, basically, what I just did, I just gave a description of what it is. Now, you have certain males that are upset with the fact that women are able to make their own decisions. Women can have self determination. I don't look at it as a bad thing. I look at it as it could be a good thing if as long as they understand that they, if they wish to take full autonomy over themselves, that includes taking accountability for their actions. You know what? We haven't seen much contact from the British Coast, so I hopefully in British Coast you'll make some comment, you'll make some content. I know that you've been tagged in a couple of other posts by certain individuals, which we're not going to mention here, but that's neither here nor there. Now, I think part of the problem is that you have certain male, and I'm going to say certain males that actually fear the fact that women can be strong, that women can be independent, that women can make their own decisions and make their own choices. Okay. But again, it's called being an adult. I never thought that day would come where people would fear anyone taking accountability and being and actually acting like an adult. I mean, I know I'm a little bit old, and of course, I was raised in a different environment, in a different time where men were men and women were women and things of that nature. I get it. Okay. But the reality, oh, thank you. Thank you, Gigi, for sharing. And good evening, Alexander. Thank you very much for stopping by. So the topic for tonight is what is the red pill movement. So I just share some information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share another article. Just give me a moment, and I appreciate the people watching. Okay, please hit that like button if this is something that you enjoy. And again, I'm not here to to cast. I'm not here to uh, describe in a negative way anything. I'm just giving an accurate description. Oh, thank you, Alexander. What is the red pill movement? So what I'm going to do is, how you doing, Irby? I hope you're doing well. Let's see. Just give me a moment. Just Just give me a moment. Oops. Okay. I'm just going to share my screen. Please bear with me. Now, I came across this article in New America called Red Pill, the Black Pill. Okay. And of course, this is another description of the term red pill. The red pill term comes from, again, it's going to be a repetition, from the 1999 film The Matrix, and it's become the framework for individuals who describe their awakening to some previously hidden supposed reality. The major contemporary secular male supremacist movements, PUA, men's right activists, the red pill, and the men going their own way, All uses term to describe the realization that men do not hold systematic power or privilege. Instead, they are awakened to the truth that socially, economic, and sexually men are at the whims of women and feminist power and desires. As the film to be blue pill is to accept the mainstream narrative and choose to live in ignorance of the truths of the world. Red pillers see themselves as intellectually superior to blue pill normies. The red pill terminology grew in male supremacist forums and was adopted more broadly by far right and white supremacist groups to describe their own versions of awakening's conspiracies worldwide that often overlap male supremacist policy positions such as anti-feminism. Being, Beginning around 2016, misogynist incel forums began to shift from a red pill to increasing black pill mentality. This belief system accepts the red pill view of society dominated by women, but rejects the individual attempts of such learning gain to achieve a sexual relationship with women as misguided, asserting that only change at a society level has the possibility to be effective. Black pill adherents believe that looks are generally determined, that women choose sexual partners solely on physical features. Lookism, so whether or not a person would be an incel is predetermined. Misogynist incels intend to prove the truth that the black pill through misreadings of scientific studies, online data sets, and their own experiment prove that women only care about man's physical looks. Although some incels still seek out plastic surgery, work out, gymnastic, or try to otherwise improve their own physical features, many believe that such strategies are pointless as these inceldom is a problem with society, not with the individual. Black pill incels are aware of the appearance of society's sociability game strategies and reject them as solutions. For those who choose to accept the black pill fate, deletion is often presented as the most inevitable solution, also encouraged in misogynistic incel communities as a form of sacrificial violence or martyrdom. Incels talk about the potential of self-harm, giving up hope, or self-deletion using phrases like committing self-deletion or hanging myself. LDAR, lay down and rot, or suicidal, is over, brutal, and never begin. Are popular responses and tags proposed, which members feel exemplify the truth of the black pill. Internal polls show that incels also ask members what they think that they will vote. In some cases, usually explicit state, I'm gonna say self-delete myself, usually they will commit self-deletion by the time they're a certain age if they're still an incel. While some of them will follow members respond to self-deletion comments with sympathy, others which posters on harmful comments, asking those who have expressed such ideology, why are they still posting if not attempted self-deletion? Okay, so we're gonna park it here. Just give me a moment. Next one, see. Yeah, I actually didn't, to be perfectly honest, I never knew there was such a thing as a red pill, black pill. I have heard that there is a red pill and then there's a blue pill. Okay. One thing I do know, based on the little that I've observed, Um, they are definitely um, against feminism, and they do believe that women have too much control. Okay. Um, Now I'm going to give you my personal opinion. It's as an opinion. Okay. Women has about as much as control as you allow them to have. Okay. Now look, when it comes to those who are incels, okay, what they need to do instead of constantly lashing out at the opposite sex, what they need to do is they need to do some self-reflection as far as why they're not able to attract someone of the opposite sex. And what they really need to do is get therapy. Um, because one thing I've said before, and I will continue to say again, hurt people, hurt people. Okay. Because we have people who have untreated trauma. We have people that have been disappointed. We have people who have been betrayed and never actually addressed those hurts. And what happens is when you have untreated trauma due to a betrayal, due to someone breaking your heart, or what have you, whether that experience that you had as an adult, or as a child, that's going to dictate how you're going to interact with other people. Okay. We have seen, not just here on social media, but also outside, certain individuals that that act in odd or peculiar ways, lashing out at people. Um, I don't know a lot about the exoticals. Um, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I often refer to some of them. Now, it's like they refer to themselves as the pretty girl club. I refer to them as the pretty dumb club. Okay, because when you base everything on the exterior, okay, that's a problem. Okay, and I'm going to explain to you why that's a problem. Because beauty is temporary. Okay, particularly if it's beauty that comes across by plastic surgery, by using an excessive amount of makeup, um, Botox. Okay, um, I prefer natural beauty. Okay, now look, I don't understand why people try to improve on what God has done. You know what I think? Look, part of okay, part of the problem, Alexander, is that people, you have people who have untreated trauma, untreated issues that they never actually went to seek therapy. As a result, you see people acting in with such an emotional way, and you have unfortunately some people committing acts of violence against women. Okay, because part of the problem is they never learn how to properly approach a woman. Okay, now this is what I will say, and the ladies, please correct me if I'm wrong. But generally, if you want to approach a member of the opposite sex, you need to come across as to be somewhat normal. Okay. The first thing should not be not trying to gain access to the box. Okay. The first thing you should try to do is get to know them. Okay. Good evening, Dreamy. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'm sorry that I didn't catch your last stream live. It's just that unfortunately I'm at the stage where I go to bed at a certain time, but I did catch it. I think it was very good. But so the topic for tonight is what is the red pill movement? So earlier I gave a definition of what it is, and I didn't realize it's coming from originally come from a movie called The Matrix. And I do know that some of the yeah, I do know that some of the characteristics regarding the red pill movement is lashing out regarding feminism, lashing out regarding um, women being able to have full autonomy over themselves. It's like they fear women having full autonomy. I got news for you. Any healthy male will not look at something to fear. Okay, they will look at as women actually to be responsible and taking control over their lives. Okay, of course we have to understand that there's certain individuals that have an erroneous concept of what a male should be. Okay, and believe me, in the Latino community, we have the problem with the machismo. Okay, and unfortunately, you have certain m- males that think, oh, it's okay to have all the women they can have, they can sleep with all the women, what have you. But heaven forbid that their main squeeze is to be going on and having intercourse with a whole bunch of men. Okay, but we all know for a fact that not everyone believes in um, monogamy. Okay. Oh, believe me, embrace your curls. I know the feeling. Here in New York for the last couple of days, the temperature reached 100 degrees, which for us is it's rare. Now yesterday, I took the day off to work in our elections here in New York. So you can just imagine working in a poll station with no AC. It's 100 degrees outside. Okay, and it's like it feels like 120, and you just get one or two black fans blowing hot air, and you got warm water to drink. That is not exactly what I call a good combination. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. But I'm happy to say that we're going to get a break. I think tomorrow, if the temperature will be in the 80s, and I think Friday or Saturday, it will be going down to 70s. So we're finally going to get a break from the heat and the humidity. Those of you who know me know that me and humidity do not go well together. Okay, but going, that would be sweet. But and this is one thing. One thing we know that these red pill, some of these red pill people, men, fear a strong, independent, free thinking woman. You know what? Um, you might be able to get something less than goodwill. I mean, or whatever's the equivalent of goodwill over there in in your town. Okay, but no, but these red pill men, boy, they fear a strong woman. They fear an independent woman. Okay, I don't. Okay, now, okay, my thinking is this: women should be able to think for themselves. Women should be able to act for themselves. Okay. Also, women, okay, just like men, need to take accountability for our actions. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, oops, excuse me. Embrace your curls. If you want to if you want to put in your cash app in the chat, you can do so. But what I'm going to do is to share another article. Okay, just ugh. Why is this not showing? You know what? I have to agree with you, Jamie. I have to agree with you. And this is the thing. Why? Why? I mean, when you look, when you think about it, when you think about it, all of us, every single human being came out of our mother's womb. Okay? Okay, no problem. But like I said, I mean, every one of us, every one of us came from our mother's womb. Okay? I mean, look, basically, look, what all my father, okay, I don't want to, okay, what my father did was, of course, planted his seed in my mother, and the seed produced me. Okay, so let me just share. Um, I'm not going to be on maybe another half an hour or so. Um, we'll see. Let's see. Ah, okay. Hopefully the image will appear. Okay. I don't want to. Here's an article called "Here's What the Red Pill, Misogyny, and Other Manosphere Terms Mean." Okay, this is from USA Today, and it was dated 2 months ago. Okay, let's go ahead. Um, it's just, okay. Just bear with me because it's okay. So, what we're going to do is we're going to describe. Okay, what is the manosphere? The manosphere is a digital collection of websites, videos, and forums that promote male supremacy and advocate for traditional gender roles. That is what the manosphere is. Okay. Creators who believe men are subjugated in modern society and blame women for that oppression provide pikes in physical self-esteem and economic insecurity to fall into radicalism and misogyny. The manosphere also have ties to white supremacy, anti-LGBTQ rhetoric, and anti-Semitism. Okay, now we're going to talk about what is the red pill. Creators across the manosphere use the term red pill and black pill to describe their outlook on gender roles and relationships. The term red pill comes from a scene in the 1999 movie The Matrix, where a character chooses between a red pill that reveals the reality of the world and a blue pill, often blissful ignorance. Those who in the manosphere often refer to awaken to supposed truths about gender roles, like the idea that 80% of the women are attracted to 20% of the men, meaning most men won't find romantic satisfaction. Yeah, Gigi, even the definition does sound wow. I mean, but like I said before, here we're going to describe what it is, and well, you will decide. You will decide that information. Now, what is misogyny? Misogyny refers to the hatred, discrimination, or dislike of women because of their gender. While sexism and discrimination is based on gender, misogyny refers to specifically to hatred of women. Misogyny can manifest in general hostility, objectification, and violence committed against women. Excuse me, this move this up a little. Is the manosphere declining? No, the manosphere is constantly evolving as it grows to reflect modern social media sites. When the short-term content platform begins offering monetization options for creators, the manosphere grew to facilitate social media. University of Wisconsin-Madison public affairs professor Maria Bonds, whose research focuses on backlash to gender equality and the manosphere, says the manosphere started to coalesce online around 2008 and grew with the rise of blogging websites. Okay, what signs should parents look for when their child could be falling into the manosphere? In one mother's TikTok video that has over 2.4 million views, she explained how an offhanded comment hinted to her that her son may be exposed to content that disparaged women. We were just having a normal conversation, and he said to me, "Well, women are gold diggers anyway." During the conversation, she asked him the question, and he eventually showed her the video, which he heard similar comments. Excuse me. A TikToker user who commented on the viral video wrote, mindset, while women are supposed to be mothers, another commented her 14-year-old suddenly began using the term females instead of women or girls. The original post replied, a very good sign, that's how they're referred to in those videos. Parents should look out for terminology used in the manosphere. In return, adolescents detective learned that emojis such as hearts, kidney beans, and the 100 emojis have different meanings that nodded to the manosphere. Dr. Gail Saltz, an associate professor of psychology at New York Presbyterian Hospital and Weill Cornell Medical College, recommends parents be aware of behaviors that can point to mental health struggles, such as more time along with the device, mood changes, and poor grades in school. Parents should also keep an eye on their teen social media usage. Teenage years are key time for experimentation when boys test out. Blessed Rand Amber, author of the Life Guide for Teens. As a result, teenagers dealing with common physical or romantic insecurity may be curious about a variety of male internet creators and inadvertently enter the manosphere through gaming or health spaces if they are consuming content without a critical. Radicalization happens when you keep being exposed to the same idea over and over again, and you're not exposed to contrary ideas. Amber says, the algorithm keeps feeding you the same information. How can parents talk to kids about the manosphere? In the viral TikTok video, mom begins her line questioning by asking her son what women in his life would be considered be gold diggers. When he couldn't name one, she pivoted to his source and asked her son what he thought about men in videos making the assertions. Do they look like they know what they're talking about? Are they functional and dysfunctional relationships? She got her son in some evidence-based thinking, which is smart because that's a way of conspiratorial thinking, Salt says. A trust relationship has the best chance of questioning the supposed truth that a child has been offered as a belief system. Moms are a good position to do that. Amber says that parents should investigate if there are deeper reasons behind why their child is seeking out this content, like a romantic rejection or low self-esteem. Good evening, Dynamom. Discussing the underlying issue requires open communication and trust. Amber says parents should talk to the teens when they are calm and be prepared to understand their thought process and offer alternatives. That means listening fully, not cutting them off when they say something you think is inappropriate or stupid. Listen fully, Amber says. And we're going to park it here. So basically, we got a lot of information to think about. Okay, and I didn't realize it, but you know, teenage boys can easily be influenced by the red pill movements and the manosphere and things of that nature. Now, okay. Now, as I stated before, I do believe that both males and females should play their respective traditional roles. Okay, but again, let me make this perfectly clear. If we want women to follow the lead of a man, that man needs to be able to provide a good reason why. a woman should follow a man's lead. Okay, which means that he needs to be mentally mature, spiritually mature, be able to think rationally, be able to take into account what the female, what the lady thinks, okay, and open to input. The problem is when we're dealing with people of the manosphere and the Red Pill movement, that objectivity does not exist. And unfortunately, they hold the belief that women are in control of everything. And again, let me make myself perfectly clear. This is just my opinion, for whatever it is worth. My opinion is the following: um, you can they, you, you can only give women as much control as you allow them to do. Okay, and actually, the same thing can be applied to anyone, not just women. Okay, the only authority a person has over you is that authority that you voluntarily give up. Okay. Now I know for some people that's a difficult concept to swallow, but that is the reality. Okay. If I don't give another person authority, that person cannot do jack. Okay. But the problem is, and again, we have certain individuals that have untreated trauma. Okay. We have people that have been betrayed and they never receive healing. I mean, they have deep wounds that infected their mindset, that infected their ability to interact with the opposite sex. That okay, that's the reality. That's the reality. Okay, and I go back to what I say again: hurt people, hurt people. What do I mean by that? When you have anyone that has never recovered from a betrayal or a word or circumstances or uh, or being betrayed, when people have never been able to recover they're going to interact with others with the same mindset. They're going to look at people not in an objective way, but in an emotional way. Okay. And again, we have seen this here, not just in social media, but we also see it in our daily walks of life. Okay. I've seen it with people at my job, where certain individuals that you that I suspect have untreated trauma, people that have been hurt, people that have been betrayed, people that have never been able to get past whatever harm or perceived harm that's been inflicted on them. Okay. Which is why it's very important, particularly if you came out of a, let's say, relationship that ended very badly with with betrayal, uh, deep emotional scars, you really need therapy. Okay. And by all means, you should never pursue another romantic relationship until those emotional wounds have been dealt with. Because what's going to happen is the following: if you go into another relationship without dealing with the trauma, what you're going to do is you're going to bring in your emotional garbage and you're going to infect your partner. Okay. Okay. So what's going to happen is if you have unforgiven, okay. Okay. Well, that's one way. That's one way to deal with it. Um, I would not recommend it with all due respect. Okay. Now, I've dealt with betrayal in my lifetime. Well, you know what? Look, I'm not going to claim to understand Don Armando. I can just imagine. That's the reality. But one thing we have to bear in mind, and I keep repeating it, and I think it has to be repeated again. When it comes to forgiveness, it does not mean restoration. Okay, it does not mean okay. You know what? Forget it. What happened happened. No, because when someone hurts you, whether it be through affairs of the heart, it can take a long time for those scars to heal. Okay. And basically, this is how I define forgiveness. Forgiveness is the situation when their hurt, that betrayal, um, that angry word, that angry thought, the angry actions no longer affect you. That is how I define forgiveness. You know what? The difference, okay, the difference is when you are able to take accountability, even when it's painful, even when it's painful, that's a sign of maturity. That's a sign of recovery. Okay. When you are able to take accountability for what you did or what you didn't do. Um, I would not call it stupidity. I would call it trauma that's never been addressed. Okay. I would call that betrayal that's never been addressed. And unfortunately, what happened is, and I'm going to say, and I'm going to apply this to men. They might have been cheated by one woman, or deceived by one woman, or have their heart broken by one woman, and then paint a broad brush and saying all women are the same. We all know that is not the case. Look, um, I have dated Good evening. I don't know if this is the real Umar Johnson or this is a troll. I don't know. But as long as you okay, but as long as you behave yourself, you can stay. But not much. I'm just discussing what is the Red Pill movement. I'm just describing it, what it is, what it's not, things of that nature. I'm not. I'm just trying to be factual. But in any case, okay. Well, you know what? If you're the real Umar Johnson, well, okay. Even if you're a troll, I mean, like I said, as long as you are respectable, okay. Because well. But when you have people who have been hurt, who have been betrayed, and they don't address it, um, what it is that that hurt becomes poisonous. Um, let's not bring up the topic regarding him and his daughter. Okay, I don't want us to get sidetracked. I want us to remain focused on the topic in hand. Now, one thing I won't do is I won't specify who is red pill, who is not red pill, and whatever. There are people out there that self-identify themselves accordingly. That's fine. But I do. This is again. I do believe that both men and women should play the traditional roles. Okay, because I truly believe that if we did this and be responsible, that will deal with a lot of the hurts and one of the issues that do exist. Okay, so I have been talking for over an hour. Okay, if anyone wishes to hit that link and opine, or maybe you disagree with what I'm saying, you can do so. You can disagree, just keep it respectable. Okay, and of course, like I said before, just as a reminder, if I never seen you before, if I never heard from you before, I will insist that you come up on the backstage, then make sure that no one flushes anything inappropriate, which could cause the people at YouTube to take down the stream. However, I don't compel people uh, to come up on panel. That I leave that to your discretion. Okay. Here, this is a serious platform here. We try to discuss issues in a mature way. Okay. So I really don't want to get back and forth with any controversies because I don't want that to be sidetracked, and it can easily be and things like that can easily occur. So, what I think what now I think what some of these people who are red pill need to do, um, I think they need therapy. Okay. I think they have trauma that is never dealt with. That is just my humble opinion. Okay. And yes, I do believe that both males and females should play their respective traditional roles. However, I believe that they should be done responsibly. Okay. Which means, like, for example, if a man wants a, okay. Now, I see here we have a guest. So let me just state for the record that the views of those who appear on the panel are not necessarily those of the host of the channel. Any attempt to copy the material without the consent of the host is prohibited. By appearing on the call, you waive your rights to your image. Some of the views that people hold might be considered offensive to some viewers. If you do not like the content, you can block the channel. Good evening, AMR.
Hey, what's going on, Jose?
Fine. How you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing good. I see you done took everyone to church with this one.
I just believe in being factual.
Oh, no doubt about it. Even though I'm laying down right now, even I had to somewhat, again, think back, just for 5 minutes and reflect, again, the things that's even happened in my previous life or even till now. And it seems like again, like the word account, like even when when people bring up the word accountability, for some it's like sacrilege because
Yes.
they think that they really don't have to.
Yeah.
However, you're only preventing your own growth instead of progressing forward, which you would think that would be the true meaning of the word accountability.
Yes.
Not trying to hinder your progress or someone else's.
Yeah. Now, as I stated before, feminism in its original form, it addressed a lot of the inequalities that women face with. Okay. What happened was it kind of morphed into something else where some women want to dominate men, and it created this image where the boss chicks and things like that. Now, if you want to be a boss chick, fine, but that means you take account. That means that you're going to take accountability, and you're going to be able to deal with the consequences of your actions, which I call being an adult.
Oh yes, yes. Especially when you put the title of the boss chick. Like, okay, you're in charge, so now whatever decisions from here on out, you're gonna have to take the good with the bad.
Yes.
But but then again, in the non-traditional term, though, it seems as though one would want to deal with one over the other. One would want the praise for the good, but no responsibility when it comes to the bad, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And it will have you, kind of give it like raising one eyebrow up, and you're thinking, seriously, like what
Yeah.
type of message are you conveying? And you sure you're not, you know, one of these people that are just being part of the blind, leading the blind?
Yeah. Now, in all fairness, I would not classify myself as red pill. I would not classify myself as part of the manosphere. I do believe that both sexes need to conduct their roles in a responsible, mature way.
Oh yes, yes. I'm with that as well, and I'm not one of those particular I don't fit the particularly the two of those titles either. It doesn't really pertain to me. Um, I guess again, like even when I was coming up, um, I was just one of those that was trying to find basically my place in the world, like where do I belong, where do I fit in, well, where do I stand. Um, in the sense if I'm leading,
Yes.
going down the world of righteous. And again, none of us are perfect. And another thing too, I think I forget, it was something that you said, and then and I was going to come back with something like this. When it comes to, oh yeah, I think when it came to responsibilities and accountability and all, I would also add, in order to and also to be successful, you got to know how it feels to not be successful. In order to be happy, you got to have disappointment.
Yes.
And even with betrayal, it's you don't have to let it dictate you or define who you are, but can you learn from it? Yes. And somebody said this prayer before. And I think this prayer was, I seek refuge in you from sort of oppressing others and from being oppressed.
Mhm.
And I was like, wow,
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
because there seems to be, especially in this modern world that we're living in today, there's a lot of that going on for a multitude of reasons. And even part of that, again, which you just stated, that um, people do have these traumas that they never got the therapy for, and they just allowed it to continue on, and then they project it onto to people like you or me or whoever, and we're the ones facing the brunt or paying for it in some way, which to me is not
Yeah.
fair.
Of course, it's not fair, but the problem, but it goes back that when you allowed unresolved issues to fester, it becomes a poison after a while.
Oh yeah, oh yes, yes. And
So,
I also thought about this too. Again, even like which would we refer to our very own sector over here in this part of YouTube or what have you. You know, and again, even for me, I try to let people um, be who they are, whether if it's within their nature or whether if it's within their character. I mean, I can't change you, but you're gonna have to. And if you feel like you don't want to, fine. Then I won't press on it any further. But as long as that exact same respect could be shown to me too, then then we could pretty much, we'll be willing to, learn from our mistakes and, continue moving forward. But however, therapy be suggested, yeah. And even for me, because I've gone to therapy before, And let me tell you, it's not as bad as people make it out to be. Because when I was growing up, I was bullied a lot
Hmm. Yeah.
for various reasons.
Mhm.
Whether, regardless of how I looked and where I stood on things, but I wouldn't stand for, whether if it was them
Oh,
doing it because, go ahead.
yeah. If you don't mind me asking, how's Kimmy doing?
Oh, she's doing good. I talked to her about a month ago,
Okay.
but I did tell her that you did say hi.
Well, I appreciate it.
Mm.
She's been missed here in these YouTube streets. I don't. Is she still on TikTok or?
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
She said she probably might be posting up some more content soon, so y'all just may have to be on the lookout.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, but another thing. What happened? Oh, to her YouTube channel. Is that what you mean, Irby?
I'm not sure. I think that's what he needs.
Okay, well, she probably might kill me if I sort of spill the beans. But her son got a hold of her phone one day and by mistake deleted the account.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Um. Sorry, sorry, Kimmy. You didn't hear it from me though.
Well, Kimmy, don't be too hard on him, please.
Yeah. Again, like again, if yeah, I can accept when I'm wrong, and if that wasn't what happened, then I'll take the backlash later. But yes, but
Yeah.
going back to but going back to the topic at hand. Um,
Well, as I stated, and I've stated again, hurt people, hurt people, and to be perfectly honest, when I see these people interact or not interact, it kind of shows that something happened in their lives.
oh yeah, oh yes, no question. No question whatsoever. And and then it also kind of make it. Then it kind of sort of puts you maybe not you in particularly, but someone else in the position like, well, either they're just having a bad day, or maybe they do. You think they had that, but they may not say that they just got a problem with you, but they're just going through some things. So it's kind of hard for them to sort of. And I'm like, look, listen, you. It's not like I want you to be the most friendliest person in the world or the most interactive person in the world. I get it because I really don't know you like that,
Mhm.
but and I really do hope things, in whatever what you're going through in your situation, you get that resolved and you live your life the way you want to live it.
Yeah. But the problem is that requires the individual to take accountability of their actions and actually get to the stage in their life when they see that they have issues and are prepared to deal with it, whatever they may be.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh yes, I co-sign that. I definitely I definitely do. Because because as they say, the man from above still isn't done with us yet until our time here on earth is up.
Yeah.
And I've been, and I try to just, when they say it's like, well, why don't you follow this? It's like, well, there's only person that, again, I do follow, which is God, of course.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so, and for, and again, I don't want to make this too religious,
Hmm.
but to act like that there is no God or there isn't anyone that you can go and pray to is complete and utter absurd to me.
Well, one thing we do need to bear in mind that there are individuals who either question the existence of the supreme being or don't believe that such a supreme being exists, and that's based on their own individual experiences. So that's the reality. I'm going to start to wrap this up because it's getting close to midnight over here, and I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day.
I understand, and also just so you know, I did move back into the house.
Okay.
Hmm. So all the repair, well, I mean, even though we still got some projects, but the repairs, um, as far as we know now, is done. We finally moved back into the house, and it looks way different than what it was last time. Ever since the unfortunate house fire.
Yeah. Well, the main thing is you survived.
But yes,
Okay. You didn't get deleted, so to speak.
yeah, but you know what though, it still feels a lot different than what it once was because because it's like you could again when I walk around, you know where everything is, and now it's okay. Where is this at? Where is that at? So I think this is also just another moment of reflection that we also have to sort of start anew.
Okay.
Hmm.
Do you have any final thoughts before I wrap this up?
No, that's pretty much it. I appreciate you having me on the panel. And again, I appreciate you
Well,
that you
I appreciate.
took me and everybody else to church.
Well, I have to. I have to speak the gospel truth, so to speak.
Oh yeah, yes. Well, hey,
But
you know,
but this, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
again, hey, whether this topic or whatever the next one is, hey, it worked again. As long as there's some closure, solutions or resolutions, that's all that counts.
Yes. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for stopping by, Emma. And please give my love to your better half, even
No
though
problem.
I might be a little bit teed off.
Oh yeah, because of the automatically deletion of her channel. But yeah, no,
But
but I'll be sure, next time I talk to her that everyone's in
yeah,
their
yes, because we don't want to create any um, romantic strife.
oh man, shoot, they've been and ever since then, there's been some jealousy going on.
Mhm. Well, in any case, let me just thank you very much. So,
Mhm.
in conclusion, I just wanted to share with you my thoughts regarding the red pill movement, what it is and what it's not. And I would submit to you that the only control a woman have is the control that you give her. Okay, she cannot act in any way unless you give it the authority and the power and the ability to act. So, as always, huge shout out for everyone in the chat, including Dr. Umar Johnson, which is, I think, I suspect it was a troll, but it's okay. And and of course, the playback end, do your thing. Just make sure whatever comments that you make are respectable because if not, they will be deleted. And I will be live tomorrow night on my other channel. Um, the talk will be buyer's remorse, where I'm going to be talking about all those Latinos who voted for Trump last year. Now they are upset with him because uh, he's actually doing or trying to do what he said he would do,
Hey, y'all.
which,
Hey, again. He said it, so it sounded funny, but at the same time, it's still funny. But and it's kind of not because it's like you kind of knew where he was going to stand, and you still continue to ride with him on this gravy train. That's like if someone tells you that it's gonna rain, and you say, "Oh no, it's not gonna rain," and then the moment that you feel a couple of drops on your arm or your head or face, now you want to be mad. Like, where's the logic in that?
what gets me, yeah, I'm talking in people who out there supported Trump. Well, you know what? I have learned how to speak English. I have learned how to speak Spanish. To this day, I've not learned how to speak stupid. But in any case, thank you very much for stopping by. And of course, we're going to close the same way that we always close. We must do everything possible to avoid the presence of the mentally and intellectually challenged because if we fail to do so, we will be infected by this stupidity. Yeah, I know. I know. Believe me, I know. And
What's
that's
good, Don
insanity.
Armando?
You know what? You cannot make this crap out. That's all I got to say. And to my fellow Latinos that voted for Trump, you get what you asked for. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, that's the
So
beauty of effing around and finding out or foffle.
yeah, yes. So with that being said, have a good night. Stay blessed and peace.